I've been on over 30 cruises, so I think I know a thing or two. But there was something that I learned from first-time cruisers on my recent cruise that absolutely shocked me. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, if you're watching this video now, there's a good chance you're one of two types of cruisers. Either you are an avid, experienced cruiser who cruises maybe even more than once a year, twice, three times, four times or more, or you are somebody that is a first-time cruiser and you're watching my channel because you are looking for cruise tips and information about your upcoming cruise. Now, I always believe that we can learn a lot from each other, and as a matter of fact, if you ever see me on a cruise, you'll probably notice that I am asking about your cruise, your experience, and for your insights. Well, on my recent cruise, I did talk to some first-time cruisers, and honestly, I was pretty surprised, even shocked a little bit, by the things that I learned. Now, as you know, there's been a lot of chatter and buzz about some of the information we have from the cruise lines and some of the changes that they've made, both good and bad, over the last few months. But nothing puts it to the test like being on a cruise and having the experience. Now, while my review is still coming, but I did think this perspective from first-time cruisers was really interesting, not only for other first-time cruisers, but for experienced cruisers alike. Now, before I get started, I did want to mention that if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. Now, I'm going to be talking about 3 different cruisers that I met, and I'll also share with you what I learned, and of course, I'm going to share some cruise tips along the way. So couple number 1, this was an older couple that we met on the cruise. They were actually doing a back-to-back cruise, so they were doing 14 days in the Mediterranean. This was their very first cruise travel experience. Now, when I asked them what they thought of their cruise, they just absolutely raved about it. They raved about the experience. They raved about the ports. But I'll tell you, the one thing that really stood out to me was they said to me, could they feed us any more on this cruise? They were absolutely loving all of the included food. They talked to me about the main dining room. They talked to me about the international cafe. They talked to me about the free poolside pizza, the burgers. Now, they also told me that they treated themselves and they went to one specialty restaurant so far, which was Sabatini's. They absolutely loved it. They talked about the other people on the cruise and how nice everybody was. And of course, how good the service was. Now, their comments really did make me smile because, you know, we do cruise a lot and we realize that we're very fortunate. And I know a lot of you, if you're watching this video, you might be cruising even more than once a year, twice, 3 times, even 4 times. And I do think that there is a tendency sometimes that we get a little bit jaded, or we've done something for a long period of time and we don't like all of the changes, but it was so nice to see it from their perspective. Now, moving on to couple number 2, this couple was very different. They were a young couple that were very well traveled. As a matter of fact, last year, they had done a land trip to Italy where they organized every part. They had taken the train, they rented Airbnbs, and this was their very first cruise that they thought they would do just once as a honeymoon. They said they were absolutely hooked, and they could understand why other people were hooked. They said the fact that they could unpack only once, the fact that this was an easy vacation to plan and they needed only to pick their excursions, that when it came to even the dining, it was so good and they loved it so much. Everything from the main dining room to the specialty restaurants, they really just couldn't say enough about the food and the service. Now, when we chatted with them, it seems like a lot of things just really did surprise them. They were surprised at how much activity there was on the cruise ship, enough for them to do a lot or to relax and not do much at all. And they said not only was it a great honeymoon, but they absolutely would do it again. Now, couple number 3 wasn't a couple at all, but they were a mother and daughter on their very first cruise. And when we talked to them at the very beginning of the cruise, they really weren't sure that they were cruisers at all. They thought of themselves more as travelers, and they weren't sure 100% how they would like it, but they were willing to give it a try. Well, of course, they absolutely loved it. They spoke about the service on the cruise. That was the thing that they said really surprised them the most. The quality of the food, to the point that they had said, they live in New York, by the way, and they said the quality of the restaurants on board, now in particular, some of the specialty restaurants, including the Catch by Rudy, but they said it rivals any fine dining establishment, in their opinion, to New York. Now, they also talked about the value, the fact that the Catch by Rudy was $39 for the meal. That was absolutely exquisite. Now, beyond that, they talked about some of the activities on the cruise ship, and not everybody talks about these things, but they talked about the fact that there were so many activities that they enjoyed in the gym and being able to keep up their fitness, as well as doing really interesting excursions that they wouldn't be otherwise able to do if they were on a land trip. Going to shows in the evening and even doing different activities during the cruise that each of them might enjoy, because as you know, there really is something for everybody on a cruise. Now, we were on a Mediterranean cruise, and the one thing that all of those three couples did have to say was that the ports were absolutely amazing. It really is hard to go on a land trip and visit so many destinations within a short period of time, all while unpacking only once, which is still my very favorite thing. Now, even though my first cruise was almost 20 years ago, I remember it well. I have such fond, good memories. And basically, what I learned from these three groups of first-time cruisers was the fact of all of that enjoyment that there still is on a cruise, and even sometimes that we hear about changes that happen on cruises. When you're on the cruise, I'll be honest, nobody was complaining. And that was the truth, not only about these first-time cruisers, but even people that had cruised a lot. All of the things that you hear on social media, I'm not saying that they're not true, they just don't really impact the cruise and the vacation once you're on board. And that really is the lesson that I learned. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Please let me know if you're a first-time cruiser, or if you've already been on a cruise, please let me know the year of your very first cruise. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, good or bad. Please let me know down in the comments below. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now, and happy cruising.